is up, everyone? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we'll be reacting to This Racetrack is Too Dangerous for Formula 1. I think this is on Bathurst as well. I did a reaction not too long ago on Bathurst. And before that video, I hadn't heard of it at all. And then, obviously, I think a lot of people told me that it was just this weekend. So I thought, we're going to react to this video because it's from the same channel that did the previous video on it. So I feel like this is going to be good. But before we get into the video, make sure you subscribe. If half of you that watch my videos aren't subscribed, just hit the bell. It takes 2 seconds. And if you'd like to become a member on this channel and receive exclusive perks, you can also do that by hitting the join button down below.
At the beginning of every season, well, almost, the Formula 1 circus descends upon Melbourne for the Australian...
The Formula 1 circus, okay. Rude.
It has played host to the Grand Prix since 1996 and draws an enormous crowd every year that it goes there. Like, seriously, it's nuts.
Yeah.
Once you're in that crowd on Sunday, you can barely move. To go for a bottle of water is to forage through a dense jungle of protein and phone zombies. But while it is a good facility, and it has become a staple of the calendar, especially at the start of it, is this Australia's best racetrack?
I'm guessing not.
Nah, not even close.
Great.
So why don't Formula 1 race on Australia's best racetrack?
Well, because I've seen the track, and there's no way you could get a Formula 1 car around that.
Race at that track. Well, there is a pretty damn good reason for that.
Great.
Every single year, over the Blue Mountain Range in deep New South Wales, festivities are in the air.
Oh, look at
early
them
October,
go.
thousands upon thousands of Australia's finest specimens will descend upon the town of Bathurst to bear witness the Bathurst 1000 endurance race, one of the best races in all of racing. For racing fans on this side of the globe, this is our mecca. For everyone else, this event could be best described as Bogan Christmas.
Oh,
Why
great.
is it called that? Well, have a look at these interesting creatures.
Yeah, what the hell? What? So what you're telling me is people go absolutely feral over that weekend. Great.
Natural selection's got some powerlifting to do here, I'll tell you that for free. Then again, one does not necessarily need brain cells to see the appeal of this race, and especially...
Well, yeah, I could tell when I watched the first video and saw the track itself. I was like, well, that makes sense why everybody loves it so much.
It twists and bends through the landscape, carving its way through the hillside and providing a challenge for any soul brave enough to tackle it. It's fast, it's challenging, and most of all, it is completely unforgiving.
Oh my. Can't think of the amount of damage that has to get repaired after a weekend like that.
Nail a lap on this track, there are few places in the world that could possibly rival the euphoria that you would feel. To be perfect here is driving nirvana, and only those with the nerve, the skill, the tenacity required to win here will actually win. This place does not allow frauds to succeed.
No.
As a viewer, watching the best of the best throw their cars around at over 200 kilometers an hour over the top of the mountain, skimming the walls, and occasionally throwing their cars up onto 2 wheels. Qualifying laps here are always a must watch. Without any shadow
I was going to
of doubt,
say, I
this
can't
is
imagine
the
how many
racetrack
cars
in the
like
country
absolutely
and
send
one of the
it
best
during
in
qualifying
the entire
sessions.
world. So why the hell then don't Formula 1 ever come here?
'Cause it's too dangerous.
Technically they have. In
Oh, they have,
2011,
okay.
Jenson Button took on this place in a McLaren MP423, and in 2023, Liam Lawson drove around in a Red Bull RB7.
Oh, no way.
But both of these were merely demo runs. How's about a proper championship round? Part of the calendar, the host for the actual
Yes, you know
Australian
that would
Grand
be
Prix.
too dangerous.
Hey, this actually would have been a good idea in the 1950s, or the 60s, or even the 70s. But in 2024, yeah, about that.
Absolutely not. You wouldn't get
In order
a
for
car.
racetrack to even be considered
You wouldn't be able
host
to
a
overtake
Formula
each
1
other at
race,
all.
It has to be brought up to FIA Grade 1 spec if it wasn't already designed for that in the first place. A big
Right.
part of it all is down to the pit facilities, crowd capacity, and the safety of the track itself. The pit lane complex at Bathurst right now is pretty decent and wouldn't require that much of an
Oh,
overhaul if
okay.
you were
Yeah, that's
looking
pretty
to
good,
bring it up to
actually.
scratch. The paddock area as well is pretty sizable and can already host international events as it is. Crowd capacity likewise is pretty decent. Many vantage points around.
Again, I was going to say it looks like a very popular venue. So what's the problem?
That last bit, you know, the part about the safety.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, Grade 1 tracks must not be shorter than 3.5 kilometers and no longer than 7. This track
Right.
right now is 6.2, so all's is good there. No
Yeah.
straight on the circuit can be longer than 2 kilometers, which again gets a pass. barely, and the first corner on the racetrack must be at least 45 degrees in direction change and be at least 250 meters from the start-finish line, which, again, this does meet. Again, barely. But that's kind of where the good news ends. From here, things start to go a little bit south. The rules dictate that the track width must be at least 12 meters at all times. And as you can see, there are plenty of times where this behemoth is barely wide enough for one car.
I was going to say, I bet the problem is that they can't overtake and you can't get like two cars down side by side. Well, two Formula 1 cars anyway.
For Formula 1 cars. But let's say they invoked force majeure. That, for argument's sake, the track is what it is, that it has been there for almost a century, and that they would be prepared to look past the track width issue and the roller coaster elevation just so long as the runoffs and the barriers were brought up to scratch. Well, installing tech bro barriers around a racetrack is one thing, but extending the runoffs around this track, well, that ain't exactly a cakewalk. For you see, this track is technically a street circuit. You see, all of this track you see here is public road. So if you wanted to drive around it, you can just go in your car pretty much every day of the year. And there are multiple properties.
That's insane. Catch me in Australia. Going around in my car on this track.
Would necessitate going to some of these locals and saying,
"Hey, we want to bring Formula 1 here. You need to choose between your lawn or your family. You have 24 hours.
But of course, most of the bottom half of the racetrack is pretty fine in terms of the depth of runoff. You might need to pave over a couple of them, but the real problem areas lay at the top of the mountain. And to make the runoffs that you would need would require either moving heaven and earth just to get a measly 5 meters worth, or straight up making
that bit is crazy. I couldn't imagine seeing a whole pack of Formula 1 cars trying to get down there.
We could just remove the barriers up there and let the drivers take their chances and deal with the consequences, but we don't have time for rational solutions. The runoff in areas such as the chase are gonna have to be completely paved over, sparing into the gravel trap at 220 miles an hour. With this elevation change, there's kind of a good chance that the car could pitch into the turf and throw itself into the air. Curbs all around the track would have to be reprofiled, since these modern day F1 cars
the car wouldn't, no, I was gonna say they wouldn't be able to handle it.
Cause them to lose traction, throw the car sideways, and pitch them into the wall. Speaking of reprofiling, you probably would have to reprofile a couple of the corners as well, opening them up to make passing easier. The bumps
Don't you dare do this.
race cars, and the drainage system around here, well, that sucks too. I mean, seriously, do you really see F1 drivers being okay with racing in these rivers? You could technically iron out these bumps by repaving the track.
I can't say I'd like to see that happening.
Or so, but even Conrad Strait has a degree of camber on it, which, if a team wanted to run their car low enough, could see it dragging its ass along the ground like a dog with worms. Now that's a lovely thought. And on top of all that, you gotta remember that this track is out in the sticks a bit. Bathurst is a decent sized town and all, but with it being almost 3 hours drive from the closest international airport, that probably wouldn't be very appealing to the F1 fraternity, who typically want to be back in Monaco before the peasants have had a chance to even leave the circuit. But of course, even if you did do all of this and bring it up to spec, which is bound to cost $1 or $2, by the way, you must remember something here. This is Australia, and this town is quite inland. The stereotypes that you hear about become more and more true out here. Thus, almost every year, this track will throw drivers a bit of a curveball in the form of
kangaroos.
Skippy.
Oh my god.
Yeah, as comical as it sounds, it ain't uncommon to see kangaroos jump onto a live racetrack at this place. Is the race on the line? Do you have a lap record in the bag? That don't matter to them. They hop where they wanna hop. Situational awareness is not really a thing with these things. Touring cars can barely avoid them. What do you think's gonna happen when one jumps out in front of an F1 car?
Suddenly I'm distracted.
If you want some nightmare fuel, some races
No. Okay, that's way too much.
Marshals were bitten by snakes.
I'm not looking.
And those tire barriers.
Oh no.
They will have redback spiders.
That is my worst fear ever.
And hey, it's New South Wales, so the funnel web spider will be lurking too. So you'll have roos on the track, snakes under your feet, and spiders in the shitters. And of course, the most deadly, dangerous, most horrifying creature that Australia has to offer.
What is it?
The echidna. Sure, most Formula 1 drivers would be able to handle a lap around this track perfectly fine, not him, but with the narrowness, the speed, the bumps. If a car snaps sideways virtually anywhere around here, they'll still be cleaning up the mess come Monday. The stakes are just too high at a place like this.
It's just way too dangerous.
It's barely tolerable for eligible racing cars now.
And I could see that in before we started the video. I was like, that track, yeah, you're not getting Formula 1 cars around that. In a race anyway. For events, sure, but
the very thing that makes this place special.
For an actual
Every
championship?
October, when
No.
Logan Christmas arrives, they all come to watch the best in the country tackle one of the trickiest racetracks in the entire world, dancing on the edge of doom, risking life and limb just to prove that they're a little bit faster than the other ones. It's for those reasons that Formula One will never race
Nope.
here. Ever.
That's
Frankly,
fair.
It's all for the better. So, if not Bathurst, are there any other tracks that would be at least better than what we have right now at Albert Park? Well, they do have
I don't know.
Phillip Island. It's a gorgeous
Oh.
racetrack, a fun racetrack. It already ticks a lot of boxes for Grade 1 approval, and it does
That looks
already
quite
host
cool,
MotoGP
actually.
races.
Oh, that bit
I
looks
guess
nice.
an updated pit facility would kind of be needed, a better pit building, and definitely a wider pit lane, a better public road to the circuit, an international airport, moors for Big Daddy Stroll's yacht. Yeah, this is just nitpicking. In terms
The list is never ending.
leagues ahead of Bathurst. Not that that's hard, with large runoff areas that do arrest the momentum of out-of-control cars.
Oh,
Most of the time.
it's going backwards.
Yeah.
What happened
yeah,
there?
Let's just keep this damn thing in Melbourne.
That was a very good video. I had a feeling, like, before getting into the video, seeing the previous video on this track, and then I saw the title to this one. It was like, oh, the racetrack is too dangerous for Formula One. I thought, fair. Even before getting into the video, I was like, fair. Okay, that track looks way too dangerous for a Formula One car. If it's like for events and stuff, like they said there, like two of them have driven around in a Formula One car. Fine, but trying to get a whole pack of F1 cars down there for a championship race? Oh, no. That is way too much. But I wonder if they'd ever, like, I think it was called, like, the Phillip circuit at the end there that he was talking about. If they ever go there, or they'll just keep it in Melbourne. They'll probably just keep it in Melbourne. But I don't see anything wrong with the track in Australia that's on the, schedule at the moment. But it's always nice to have a bit of change. But yeah, that was a very good video. So with that being said, if you have any other videos that you'd like me to react to, drop them in the comments. I'm working my way through everybody's suggestions at the moment. If you did want to check out any of my other socials or become a Patreon member and get early access to videos like this or top priority over your suggestions, then you can do all of that down below. And if you want to become a member on this channel and receive exclusive perks, you can also do that by hitting the join button down below. But I hope you enjoyed today's reaction, and I will catch you next time for the next one. Bye!